I'm Thea and Massi, and welcome to today's episode of Beyond the Ball. I'm here with Ryan Walker, Coppell's starting quarterback, team captain, and the 2020 Homecoming King. How are you today, Ryan?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. So in this episode, we're mainly going to be talking about football. We know that you play baseball as well, but since we're in season, we like to focus on football. So let's start with your childhood a little bit, and when did you start playing football?
I started playing football, I think it was second grade. I played for my dad, and then one of the receivers, Gavin Osteen, his dad was also one of the coaches. I played for him second and third grade, and then I actually quit football for a year and focused on basketball, ironically, because I was not very good at basketball. But then I picked back up flag football in fifth grade, and then obviously seventh and eighth grade, and then high school.
Wow, so you're really experienced and you've been playing for many years.
Yep, I've been a Coppell Cowboy for a while.
Yeah. So how is that, because you said that you had a lot of friends that have also played with you, so how is that built that bond with them?
Yeah, like Gavin, I've played with him since second grade, and I mean there's loads of guys on that team. I couldn't even name all of them, but yeah, growing up with those guys and being able to play with them since such a young age, and always representing, the star and stuff, which has been really cool. And then even some of their older brothers were friends with my brother, so I mean I'd be with them at their games, and we looked up to those guys, and I mean it's awesome growing up with those guys and building a bond and almost being like brothers.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it really helps with the team chemistry a lot.
Absolutely.
You've known them for a while. So when did you start playing quarterback? Do you start in middle school?
Yeah, no, I started on that second grade team. I was the quarterback,
nice.
but I mean, I was 8 years old. I couldn't throw a ball to save my life, so it was more just hand it off or run it the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was the quarterback then, and then I quit football and then picked it back up in fifth grade, and I actually wasn't the quarterback. I was a receiver, which is what I played last year at the start of the year. But sure we'll get to that. But yeah, so I've pretty much been a quarterback my whole life. That's kind of what I've always done.
That's really great. Yeah. So when did you start? When did you start for Coppell's varsity team? What happened with the old person's injury, and how did you start?
Yeah, last year I actually started the year at tight end, but like I said, I'd only ever played quarterback my entire life, so they quickly switched me to receiver because I could not block. But I could catch pretty well because my dad and my brother both played receiver. My brother played receiver here in 2017. But Kevin was the starter, and then he got a concussion, which threw me in there. And then I started a couple games, and then Kevin came back and then broke his foot after 2 games. So then it threw me in there again, and I was the starter for the rest of the year.
That was your junior year, correct?
That was junior year. That was last year, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big step to take as a junior, and once you become that quarterback and also team captain, a lot of people look up to you. So what have you learned from being a leader, and how does it make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot to the guys nominated me to be team captain because, players vote, and it means a lot that they voted me.
Yeah.
I try my best to represent them as best I can and lead them in the right direction. And, that's something that I kind of pride myself in, building others up as opposed to, being all about me and trying to build myself up. I like seeing other people reach their potential as well.
You're right. That's so great. So what have you learned about being a leader from before you played quarterback and what you've learned throughout the years?
So I'm going to relate this to baseball, but as a sophomore, I was on the varsity squad. I was one of maybe 3 or 4 guys that were on varsity as sophomores. So I kind of felt like a leadership role going into junior year of football because I just felt like, I was on varsity baseball.
Yeah.
I was kind of a big dog. That's what I felt like at least. And but then Kevin actually got the starting spot, and then I was kind of like, oh dang, kind of back to earth kind of thing. But then they told me I'd be playing receiver and that I'd be the backup quarterback, and then Kevin ended up getting hurt, and I had to step into that role and as a leader, and it was tough. And I mean, I made some mistakes obviously last year on the football field, and definitely wasn't prepared as I should have been. But then, having that experience of starting, I think it was 7 games and playing in almost every game, coming into this year, I think it's helped a lot, and I think it's kind of shown out there. I'm a lot more confident, and I think my team's a lot more confident in me as well.
Yeah, that's true. You've grown so much from last year, and you've probably learned a lot about what it means to be a leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of that, a lot of people look up to you, especially younger athletes. So what is some advice you would give to younger athletes trying to go into football and make it big?
Yeah, I'd definitely say to be unselfish and don't worry about your stats as an individual. Just worry about the team stats. That's something I kind of learned from guys like Joe Minden. He was actually a coach here a few years ago, and then Cam McDaniel. He went to Notre Dame, and he was one of the great Coppell running backs to come through here. And those guys are who I watched whenever I just started playing football, and I really looked up to. And I kind of want to be like those guys, having the kids look up to me, and I'd tell them don't be selfish out on the football field. Cheer for your teammates and build them up, and you'll go along with them.
That's great, and it makes you feel better out there, like you're making a difference.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So you already talked about it, but who else inspires you? Is there a certain professional athlete or your parent who inspires you?
Yeah. Like I said, like Cam McDaniel, he was. I mean, I wore number 4 my entire life because of him. He's like my idol. And then once junior year came, Zach already had number 4. I guess that was his favorite number as well. So I chose number 18 because that was what my brother wore, and he's another guy I look up to because he worked his butt off from freshman to junior year. He really didn't touch the field a whole lot, but then senior year came and he really shined, and he was a big part of that team that went 3 rounds deep. And then also I look up to my dad because he really knows the game of football well. He used to be a coach, and then he went to Rockwall High School, and he's the only person from Rockwall to ever score a touchdown in a state championship, which I thought was really cool when he told me that story. And so I really look up to them as well.
Yeah, speaking of them, those people are really hard workers. So what keeps you going? Why do you work so hard every day?
Well, yeah, like I said, I like to build my team up, and I like to bring them with me and help them reach their potential. And you can't be a do as I say, not as I do kind of guy. You have to lead by example and show that you're a hard worker to get them to work hard. I can't just be a rah guy telling them to work hard and then me be lazy. So I kind of I like leading by example. I'm not a very vocal guy out on the field. I'm not a big screamer or anything, but I do like to lift my guys up. If they're struggling, and praise them if they're doing well. So
that's really good, and I feel like leading by example is a really good way to help those people out. With that, let's talk about your future a little bit and your goals. So, what's your main goal for college and beyond?
Yeah, I definitely want to play football or baseball at the next level. I haven't decided yet. Just keeping my options open and whatever the best opportunity for me is. That's probably that's what I'll do. But my goal is to play one of those sports at the next level, and then not sure I want to major in either. But after that, if I have the chance to play beyond that, awesome. And if not, then I guess we'll see what happens after that.
That's great. Is there any specific school you'd like to go to?
My dream school it's always been Notre Dame, just because Cam McDaniel went there, and he's someone I looked up to. And then, other than that, it's just kind of best opportunity, best option.
You're right. So what is something, we talked about your future a little bit, and we know it's your senior year. So what is something you're going to miss about your senior year and football specifically?
Coach DeWitt kind of preaches it's the little things that that make a big difference, and I kind of see that out on the football field as well, because the things that you remember the most. He's told us this too, but the things you'll remember the most aren't sure you'll remember some cool plays and beating a team by a bunch or whatever the case may be, but he's like the little things that you're really gonna miss are sitting in the locker room after practice or before a game with the pregame jitters, listening to music, halftime, making adjustments, and feeling the joy out there on the field when they work, and you feel everything click, and the bond of your team, those kind of things. Just the little things that kind of the behind the scenes things that not everyone gets to see. Those are the things that really make you love the game.
You're right, and you make so many memories in high school football that carry on beyond. And
Right.
It's a really good experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what has football taught you, and any other sport? What has it taught you?
I mean, yeah, football and baseball both. They teach you to work hard. One, work hard. Two, it's be patient, because it's not always going to come easy, and there's always going to be people better than you, and you're not always going to succeed. I mean in baseball, like succeeding 3 times out of 10 is really good.
Yeah.
Which for most people, like failing once sucks, but those things just kind of taught me to be patient and stay humble, because if you're not humble, the game will humble you. If you're not kind of a down to earth and you think you're all that, then it'll quickly remind you that there's someone out there outworking you, and someone out there better than you, and you have to you have to keep working to improve, because you're never going to be at your peak.
You're right. I really think that sports, especially in high school, teach you so much and really build that character, and it carries out throughout your whole life. It teaches you how to talk with people, your work ethic, your mentality, and it's really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even being a captain and being quarterback of the varsity team, that's another thing that kind of teaches me like leadership and helping others reach their goals, and which is something I think is really important, in the everyday world.
You're right. So speaking of helping others, so I heard you volunteer. So Can you talk a little about that and how it makes you feel?
Yeah, I volunteer with the Young Men's Service League. And I have a bunch of buddies in that organization, but we do all kinds of stuff. Some of my favorite ones are MetroCrest Food Services. It's just with COVID, it was a big thing because a lot of people lost their jobs and stuff, and MetroCrest was there to help distribute food. It's basically a food bank, and it helps people feed their kids at night and stuff. And then another one I really like is Special Olympics. I love Special Olympics bowling in particular, because I get to seeing those little kids turn around, the joy on their face after they knock down. I mean, they don't even have to be very good. They can knock down a single pin and they're so happy, and it's awesome. I love volunteering with those kids.
So another thing you do as a leader is you pray for the team before every game, correct?
Yeah.
So can you kind of talk about that, and what do you pray for?
Yeah, before every game, right before we run out. Usually it would be right after we run out of the tunnel, but we don't have a tunnel this year because of COVID. And but so every game before we run out there, I tell them to take their helmets off, bow their head, close their eyes, and I tell them to touch a brother, because we think of ourselves as a family. And then you never ask for a win. You ask to play your hardest, to execute your calls and your plays, and then for a safe and injury-free game, and then most importantly, it's to remember who we're playing for. I mean, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter if anyone's religious in the football team. It's just it's kind of just a generic thing. It reminds yourself who do you play for? What's your purpose for playing? And that's kind of how I like to lead them into battle. That kind of thing.
That's great. So can you talk to us about Empire Trust? It's a nonprofit organization that you're a part of, and a lot of other athletes in Coppell are a part of. Yeah. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I kind of got into it. I got into it, I think, 8th grade. And I don't exactly remember how I stumbled upon it, but I know some of my brother's close friends were a part of it, and he always kind of wanted to be a part of it. So I heard about it through them, but they reached out to me in 8th grade going into freshman year, and they asked if I wanted to be a representative. And I really didn't know what that meant, but I was stoked because my brother wanted to, and I was like, kind of bragging rights. I was like, I got to, you didn't. But but kind of once I got into it, it's more about it's like serving others in your community based on how you live. We talked about leading by example, and that's kind of how it is. It's like I'm a representative for them, just as I'm a representative in my community for the football team and as a Christian and stuff like that. And it's really just about like living your life, you know, walking through your faith and stuff. And
thank you, Ryan, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
That's all for this week's episode of Beyond the Ball, and I'll see you next time.